Hi everybody, it's Papa Kenny. Alright, this video I'm kind of picking up in the middle of it. A little bit of a backstory. It's my brother-in-law's truck. It was sitting in a field at storage units for a couple years. He sent me over there to get it started with new batteries. I had a slow crank, no start. Did have sync, did have pressure, just a slow crank, no start. Ended up getting it towed over here to his house, put it on the lift. After further investigation, I don't know if it was from me putting battery chargers on this, trying to get this thing to spin over faster. I smoked the ground wire, or the ground wire was the issue in the first place. In the meantime, changed the starter out too, because seeing I smoked the ground wire, chances I smoked that starter. So ended up putting a new starter in it, new ground wires in it. I was able to get it started. It was squealing like crazy. Ended up smoking the serpentine belt. Snapped right up. After a little bit more further investigation, I checked the pulleys. The AC compressor is locked up on this truck, solid. So basically, that being locked up put such a strain on this belt and trying to turn this motor over, which was the slow crank, no start issue, I believe. Actually, it starts right up now without a belt. Flies right off like it's supposed to. Anyhow, I never did one, but we're gonna go ahead and take this AC compressor out. She's a bitch. So let me get set up, kind of in a tight place, but we're gonna do it right here. And you guys are gonna, I don't know, there's a million different videos out there, but everybody does it different way. Let's see how we're gonna do it. All right, let me get set up and we'll see you over here in a second. All right, I'm gonna start off by taking the battery out. I took the battery out. Now the battery tray, there's 2 bolts going into the fender and 2 going down. I snapped one yesterday, so I only have 3 to take out. Then we're gonna take this tube and get it out of our way and start on the inner fender well. All right, I got the battery tray out. I got the tube over out of my way, and the AC compressor way down in here. So already the ground wires that I put in are going to be in my way, because I'm going to try to take it out through the inner fender well through this way. So I'm going to have to go up in the air and disconnect everything that I did for ground and underneath, but that's okay. I'm just looking. Look how rotted that tube is. That's coming off the condenser. So I got to do all this just to get a belt on there. This is a plow truck, obviously. That's why it's so rusty. That's what my major concern. This fender's bent. I don't know how well this inner skirt's gonna come out, but all right. So I'm gonna try to get this thing up in the air, get under there, and disconnect the ground wires. I'll show you that once I get underneath and we're on it. Okay, I'm beneath the truck. I don't know how well you can see it, but there's a lug that goes to the engine that the ground wires are hooked up to. So you got one that goes up to the battery, and then the one that goes up to the top of the chassis. So we're gonna get them out of the way, hopefully get some of this other stuff out of the way. Maybe it'll give us a little bit more room in there. I don't know if I'm gonna take one of these motor mount bolts out, maybe jack it up, but we'll see when we get to that. So it's like a 15 millimeter on the inside and 14 on the outside. So once I remove that, we'll get this stuff all out of my way. You can't even see the compressor from down here. It's actually on top of here. All right, so let me get the ground wires off. This is stuff that I all put on yesterday. Anywho, here we go. All right, so it's like a 6 millimeter. As you can see, this fender's bent or it's been out. I got 1, there should have been 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. There should have been a bolt over here, nothing there. And there should have been another bolt over here, nothing there. I do have, there should have been a 3 there, but there's only 2. And I believe that's the vacuum canister. So we're gonna have to tie this up once we take that bolt out. Obviously this thing's been out once before, not by me. Alright, so I only got a couple screws and I can rip this thing right out. But like I said, normally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 millimeters or whatever, small, something like that, or 7. A bolt under here, 13, and there should have been a 13 there and a 13 over here, but they're not there. And the 3 10 millimeters, which one is missing, this one only has 2. So I hope I covered that good. You know how I am about explaining stuff. So we'll get this off and get the anti well out. Alright guys, remember I was showing you this broken AC line that goes to the condenser? Well, there used to be a sensor right there. I was looking for that sensor to unplug and I found it by accident, and that's, as you can see where that goes, it's all broken off right here. Here's that sensor right there that's supposed to plug into that other line, so we don't have to worry about that. Looks like a 10 millimeter that holds this supposed to hold these AC lines on the top of it. I got a 10 millimeter here, and there's another one down there. Now there's supposed to be another one somewhere else, but let's try and get the light in. Okay, so there's one here, and I don't quite see the other one yet. But oh yeah, wait a minute, it's down way down here where my finger is. So we got one down here where my finger is, one up here, and there should be another one over here somewhere. Looking right there, I see a double bracket, and it's probably, my luck, it's going to be both of them, right? Alright, so we'll stop by trying to loosen this stuff up. I don't know if it's going to come undone. It's pretty rusted. Just trying to give you guys, it's going to be hard for me to film this I'm just trying to show you what I'm trying to take out. And there's a socket way down in there. I can see it. Somebody must have lost the socket because I see it way down inside the top of the cross member. Somebody's absolutely been here. Alright, like I said, tight quarters. I'll try to explain what I'm doing as I go. Alright, let me see, get a couple of these bolts out. When I run into a problem, I'll show you what it is. Alright, let me get this light on. So, I can get on this bolt. Unfortunately, I think I'm going to snap it because it's so rusted. I may be able to get a torch up here. I can cut this tube off. This air conditioner is junk. These hoses are junk. So, I think my option is going to be to cut this other AC line, because I don't think this AC will ever work again. That line's been open to so much corrosion where it broke that it just filled the pump up with stuff. So whatever that may be, if I cut this off, I may be able to heat the top one enough to get this bolt out. Same thing, there's one just below it down there. I can get on it. But I think I'm going to snap that one too because it's so rusty. That one I cannot see where it goes to the block, so that might be a little bit more of a challenge heating it up, and I don't even know if that's going to work. And then the third one, I can see that. Definitely get a wrench on it, but I don't have any room to swing it. So my plan was to unbolt the motor mount, jack it up enough where I could get a socket on it and pull it out. But this is what happens when you got these plow trucks. Let me show you. Alright. Look how corroded the nuts are for a motor mount. There's only two. Maybe heat them and back them off. But what if I snap them? And then I got big problems. Then you gotta change the motor mount. One thing after another over here. So I'm gonna work on getting one bolt out at a time. Let's see what happens when we get the top one out. Alright, it's hard to film down here. Just take my word for it. If this truck wasn't so rusted as a plow truck, it'd be a whole lot easier. Alright, so I was fortunate enough to have a set of torches and a little brazen tip. I heated up the end of the bolt, not a lot, because I didn't want to strip the head. It's close to being stripped now. Then up at the block, I heated it up there, but it's pretty corroded up there. I was able to break it free. Then I got one of these battery wrenches. Let me pull this out here. 10 millimeter. And I was able to put a bar on it, break it free. Now I was working it back and forth, so we got this one loose. This one's almost out. All right, so now we just got the bottom one to do. I should say bottom, that's 1 out of 3. What I'm thinking maybe for the one underneath, and I'll show it to you a little bit better in a minute. Thinking about drilling a hole in the cross member and just working our way up until I can get a socket on there, big enough hole, I don't know, up to a 1/2 inch to maybe use a unit bit to remount the hole enough to get a socket in there, but we'll cross one bridge at a time, one bolt at a time. I was very lucky to get this one out. I don't know if I'm going to be so lucky with the bottom one. It's a little bit easier to see this one than it is the one on the bottom, but she's out. I just want to take a good look at the head. I think she's out. You don't want to pull out of the AC compressor. Alright, I need two hands. Once I get started, I'll show you what it looks like. I already can see aluminum corrosion on the bolt, so that's another thing we're fighting. Alright, I'm going to pull that bolt out. It moves by hand in and out. Just a note, I wish I'd known this earlier, but after I peel this insulation off this AC line here, there is two openings in this aluminum block. So I was able to spray PV blaster. It did come out of the hole, out of this hole at the bottom, but the bolt, it's got like a bridge in here that the bolt goes through, and I think it's stuck, the threads are stuck on there. But there's a little tip for you. I wish I'd known that a minute ago. Alright, I'm going to look, try and see. I'm going to go to one on the bottom now, the other 10 millimeter. Maybe I can spray some, it's the same on the bottom, I can spray some blaster on there, I'll let you know. Like I said, the one that's back there inside the cradle, or cross member, whatever you want to call, I may end up drilling a hole underneath it and getting it out that way. But one bolt at a time, let's see if I can get that other 10 millimeter out. Alright, so we had to heat the bottom one, and we couldn't raise the motor mount, so we poked a little hole in that cross member, and Rick was able to get the ratchet on there. We put a little bit of heat and it popped right out. So all the bolts are out, we just gotta get the compressor out now. Alright, so we got the compressor out. I'm gonna give you guys a better shot. So you got your 10 millimeter bolt here, 10 millimeter bolt here. The really hard one to get, the 13 millimeter. Alright, so we did have it on the lift. It did help. Just for you guys' sake, if you look inside here where the bolts go, there's a couple slots on every one of these bolts. Spray as much PB blaster as you can in them holes. Will help you tremendously. I did use a brazen tip on my torches just to heat up. Actually, the washer, I think, was frozen to the casing, the aluminum casing. Because once I heated that up, it broke it free. Alright, I'm going to climb under the truck and show you what I did to get the 13 millimeter bolt out. Because that's kind of like in the cross member down in there. And it's really, you can see it, you can get a wrench on it. But this truck, being a plow truck, was so rusty that the bolt, you just couldn't get a good grip with a wrench. I was going to take hole saw, a 1-inch hole saw, and I was going to drill a hole in that cross member. But I ended up cutting a little hole with a torch, nothing major, and I'll climb under there. Hopefully I can show you what I did. You definitely have to get the battery cables out of the way, get the transmission filter housing out of your way. My vice grips I left behind. Get as much of that stuff out of your way as you can. Because you need to, if you have to get in there with the torch tip, you need all the room you can. And the biggest thing, the other thing you're going to be careful getting at that, if you're going to heat that 13 millimeter bolt up, the crank sensors behind there, you're going to be careful of that. Alright, let me claw into here. Alright, let me get the light. I don't know how well you can see that. But all I did was enlarge that hole, enough to get a bolt on, a socket in there. Now, I could have unbolted the motor mounts, but the bolt nuts were so rusty, I was afraid of breaking the motor mount. So, I had to resort to that. Nothing major, there was a hole there already. There was, as you can see, them other holes. There was one right there, I just made them a little bit bigger. Had to do it. I wish I didn't have to, but there was no other way around it. This truck is so rusty, as you can see it. So, let me climb out from underneath here. So, that's how I get this air conditioning compressor out. Alright, this Ford f350 AC compressor locked up. Alright, so after I did some thinking, I did put a bunch of WD-40 and PB blaster, hoping that it would free up this system. I've never taken one of these apart. I think I'm about to. I did notice, if you turn this clutch right here, because this clutch does spin, it's spitting out stuff, and it does look like refrigerant oil. So I'm going to take the clutch off, 6mm, and then see what I need to take this pulley. Because maybe this is okay, just the pulley's frozen. So, what do we got to lose, right? Alright, let me get set up and show you how I'm going to take it. Alright guys, I got a little bit of understanding how this whole thing works. Alright, so the main problem was, let me show you something. You guys seen, when I put this on here, you could obviously see fluid was coming out the hole. So I know the compressor was good. The problem was this pulley was frozen. So I took the 1/8mm bolt out. This thing slides off. Then there's a snap ring right here that holds a pulley. Now, I never took one of these apart, so it took a little bit. I heated it around here. I thought it was frozen around the outside edge here, but actually I'll show you where it was frozen. This was all rusty around here. I already cleaned it up. And all rust in here. I got a little bit more cleaning to do in here. So this thing was pretty much rusted to this. This is stationary. This is a big magnet, and I believe this is how it works. You got your plug here. This is like a big magnet. This pulley spins freely until your power here in the cab or wherever brings this in by magnetic and makes the whole system spin. So this is a pretty strong magnet to be able to pull this in and hold it there. I know there's different spacing and whatever. There's going to be a certain amount of, I can't think of the word, space in there, but shimmed. So basically that's how this whole system works. So it may save you some aggravation. Like I said, you guys all know this truck. It was turned over slow, no start. I had sync. I had plenty oil pressure, but it turned over slow. Good batteries. I don't know if I did it or it happened by turning this thing over so many times that I burnt up the ground cable and obviously burnt the starter. So I put a new starter in it, new ground. It still turned over slow, but I got up to fire, and the only way I could find out what the problem was, it broke the belt. It started squealing like crazy, the belt snapped. I got under the hood of the truck, checked the pulleys, and that's what I found. So once I got this all off, I could see that the compressor itself was working. I never took one of these apart. When you say compressor, I automatically think there's got to be a bunch of little pistons in here making pressure somehow, and I really didn't want to get into tearing that, but I knew that was good because I spun this and fluid was coming out. Like I said, I ended up heating this and whacking it off. So that's how that works. We're going to put it back together, and it's a plow truck. Don't need air conditioning anyway, but you do need this pulley to put the belt on. They don't make a bypass for a 6-liter. I searched high and low. I called Ford. I called a bunch of places. I did a ton of research. All for use. So if you're got an air conditioning problem, it may be the same problem I got here, that this was rusted to that. Took it off, cleaned it up, and we're gonna put it all back together and send it. All right, let me get this thing back in the truck. All right, so I got the belt in. I got this from O'Reilly's. That's the belt number. I took the most popular one. There's like 6 different belts, unbelievable. So I took the most popular one. When you're putting the belt on, I was actually lucky. The routing was on the front over here. Still a pain in the ass. You gotta take the top of the shroud off. You gotta move both the tubes out of your way. Take the radiator hose out of your way. Get all that crap out of your way. Once you get it routed, you definitely have to take the tensioner off. You should probably replace the tensioner anyways, but this being what it is, plow truck or whatever, and you don't want to spend any more money on it, I put the old, we left the old tensioner in there. But I had to take it out anyways. There's 2 pulleys on that tensioner, and the only way to get the belt around the first pulley is by taking it off. So that's a tech tip for you. I spent quite a bit of time trying to figure out how I can get it around that pulley. There's no way around it. You got to take it off, put the belt around it, and put it back on. So we got this belt. We got the belt on. I'm gonna put it all back together. I'm gonna fire it up. See how bad she squeals. Alright, putting this thing back together, I wanted to show you another tip, because it took me a bit to figure out how to get this top shroud off. Well, this rubber seal right here. It goes all the way around it, half of it, halfway around it. It just slides over the other shroud. I can't do it with one hand, but there's like an 8-inch piece of rubber that slides over the bottom shroud. So I thought this whole rubber thing had to come off, and I was prying and pulling, and all of a sudden the thing lifted. So I found that by mistake. Like I said, this rubber just slides over the bottom shroud on both sides. All right, I just figured I'd let you guys know that. All right, she's all back together. Let's see what she does. Right on that glove wall. There you go. Not even a squeal out of that pulley.